So what you want to get into?
First, I just want to rant. Welcome to Barbecuing Sacred Cows. Let's get started with this, man. You know, we talked last week. First of all, welcome to Barbecuing Sacred Cows. This is Gerrel Jones, your co-host, and
Jason Williams.
And this is the podcast where you get to question everything you've ever learned, which is difficult. I'm finding more and more as I talk to people how fixed-minded they are about things that they don't know about. I want you to imagine going to the doctor.
This is going to be a good rant, man. I can feel the energy already in here.
I want you to imagine going to the doctor. And you know you've been born. You know you've been living. Right? But you don't really know how this body works, right? You depend on the doctor.
And I'm learning. I know very, very little about how this body works as I get older and I find out more things.
Now, I'm learning as I get older that is a liability.
Right.
Not going in understanding something about how your body works puts you at a disadvantage.
It's good to catch things early, right?
Right.
And prevent major.
And I wonder what would happen if you had a bad doctor. You know, there's a lot of doctors that are very, very good, and they've gone to schools and they've learned, and they're gifted that way. And as a matter of fact, I think you have to, have a gift to be a doctor. But now,
not all of them are
that's
good.
important, right?
Yeah.
You know, your body is important. The doctor knowing what they're supposed to do because you don't is important. You're vulnerable in that situation. Now, what about your spiritual life? If you won't trust somebody who's not educated in how your body works, why would you trust somebody who's not educated in how your spirit works, how your soul works?
Yeah.
So now I've got these people that I interact with and that I once was. I don't mind telling you that, I think that growth is probably best described as ignorance developing into something that's not, right? Or something useful. That's what growth is. Ignorance developing. You make mistakes, you make bad decisions, you learn things, you get information, you move, you change. Your belief system changes over time. Now, if you don't do that, though, if you stay static, right? And this is how I describe my Christian development and what I understood. I was born again, quote unquote, didn't know how this thing worked. And the people who were teaching me didn't know how it worked either. They had not studied the book. I'm literally listening to people assert their certainty about things like salvation and heaven and hell and sin. And it's like, catch, you ain't even read the book. What are you doing? You just parroting stuff that other people said.
Right.
It's the same thing with a whole lot of it. And it's just frustrating to me because, when you're a doctor, you're going through a lot of changes so that you can aid people and get them healthy.
Right.
And my interpretation of a healthy Christian or a mature Christian is somebody who is literally looking for people like Jesus, looking for broken people to get. But then when you find them and they say that they're already saved or they're already something, they're already a believer, and you're not looking for any. I wouldn't just if somebody couldn't walk up to me and say, "Yeah, I'm a doctor. Let me examine your anus. Let me. Yeah, I'm a doctor. Let me let me cut you open." Right? Yeah, but we'll let people who we have no evidence of what they believe other than what they said. We'll let those people tell us. They don't have like a resume of fruit bearing.
Right.
They're just people who said they were Christian.
Right.
People who get these callings from God in the middle of the night or, at a church service to build another church next to a church, across the street from another church, and down the block from you. Got a call from God to do that? Is he's just confused? Is your God just really just don't know, what he's doing, and then tell y'all not to talk to each other? Is that what he's doing? He's planting churches across the street from each other and then telling the leaders of these churches not to galvanize their people, not to provide services, but to tell them to go to a nonprofit organization so they can get. But you're serious, that you're sure, that you're absolutely certain that what you got is genuine, but it don't work.
Yeah. I wrote a book about this thing.
You did write a book about this thing. We're going to talk about that. Hypocrisy. Hedonism, and for those of you who are not really clear about what that may be, because it's a word that I didn't learn until I got to prison.
Okay.
Hedonism is pleasure seeking.
That's right.
Hypocrisy, hedonism, and healing. Hope and healing.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
Don't skip the hope.
And you have to forgive me because I have yet to crack this book, and I have every intention to. I'm saying it publicly live, but I know the person and I know the ideology behind it. So, I'm just kind of, I want to get into it and talk about, your favorite parts.
Yeah. Right? Well, and as I talk about the book, I think it'll tee you up for some more discussion because literally the opening.
I need to be teed up.
No, you don't need to be teed up. Trust me, you don't need to be teed up, man. You can hit that thing off the deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this idea of a journey from what you were told to what will actually hold, right? So what you just described in the first 5-7 minutes is what someone was told, and then them turning around and telling others, right? Without testing, without
trying evidence. The spirit, whether it be of God, as James said.
Right.
Try every spirit. We don't even stop to think about what that means, but you're right. Test it.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is this accurate? Is this sound?
Yeah, because I've found personally, along with other people, that we inherit a lot of beliefs and values that we don't test. Or we inherit a lot of beliefs and values that we look at and say with confusion, right? Sure. Because we see incongruence. So, an example would be you hear people running around, God is love, God is love, I love God, I put God first. But you look at a life and you don't see a lot of evidence of love. Like, where's the fruit of sacrifice and love and and really caring for people, right? It's like, it's one thing to say God is love, but you said you got God, right? You got his Holy Spirit. You got his inspiration in you. Then that should promote and project love. And again, for me, if somebody looked at me 5 years ago, they'd be like, a little bit of love, but man, a lot of judgment. Because again, it's the journey from what you were told to what will actually hold. And so I've been able to kind of see that there's inherited values and then there's animating values. And those animating values are the things that we don't talk about, but that's the why that's under the surface, right? Why plant a church when there's 4? Because you know what the animator is? I want to build an empire.
Right.
You know what the animator is?
I want to be famous.
I want to be famous.
I want to be the top of the
and I want to lead people.
Right.
Right. And I want to grow a big movement of folks and make my name great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is go back.
I'm just going to say, man, I feel like a lot of the people that call themselves that I've experienced and I can, pull up some videos. And, that's a guy with low self-esteem. Picked on all
there you go. Lack of validation and affirmation.
And so here's a place where he can get it at.
Yeah.
You can go and actually, I watched, I thought it was going to change, but I watched 15 minutes and it continued on after I cut it off of a man walking through a congregation just screaming into a microphone. And everybody's, bent over and walking around, look some stiff like zombies. And it was really a fiasco. Right. And so I'm thinking,
what do you think a kid comes in that's not been exposed to that? What kind of confusion you think that creates for a young person who sees that?
That's what antichrist religion does. That's what false religion does. That's what the cult that is the larger community that Jesus talked about. Jesus talked about that the majority of people, if they're doing it, it ain't right.
Yeah.
That's what narrows
the broad way.
The broad way. If everybody's doing it, it ain't right. If somebody don't hate you for opposing the larger then that's in the book. Jesus promised, nobody promises this from the pulpit. Your family's going to hate you. Yeah. Your mother and father are going to turn against you. The government is going to turn against you. Nobody signs up for that. Nobody evangelizes.
Suffer for my name's sake.
You're going to suffer. You're going to suffer tribulation in this life.
You actually signed up to die.
Right. That's the real. Right. That's the real. It ain't walk up to the altar and repeat after somebody.
Right.
It's, hey, are you going to make a commitment to grow into somebody who is willing to die?
Yeah.
For the sake of changing the world. And so many of us have taken the collective interpretation of scripture, which is why the context it was written in, and we've made it individual.
Correct.
Right? And you walk around talking about greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. Right. And it's like, what? In you? But he's talking to a group of people.
Yeah.
Telling them about their challenges.
Right.
So, you may have that power, but that power is supposed to be connected to the other people it was designed. It's like you can be one battery, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the machine needs 6 batteries, it don't matter how much power you got, right? And that's the way I see this, is a lot of us are living in a situation where we are disconnected from the actual principles. And we've been married to these rituals and these traditions and these rules, and they've sold us confusion for faith.
Absolutely. And, told us that holiness is just what you avoid. Right. So the inherited belief that we have, that I see in really Christendom, man, in the West, is this idea that, okay, to be like Christ and to pursue holiness means you don't do all this stuff. Yeah. Right. So what it turns into is sin management, as opposed to being transformed by the person of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say it's not just management. I would say that it's sin production. Yeah. Because the more
you're managing to produce.
Right. The more rules you have, the more guilt you produce when people naturally break those rules. And this was the reason for the principle of forgiveness 7 times 70 in a day if your brother offends you, because remember that Jesus is going and collecting the worst personalities that Palestine can produce.
You think they offended people a lot?
Absolutely.
I know
you think they weren't messy?
Yeah.
Oh, look at Mary Magdalene. She over there. She knows she just was over there with the old boy just the other day. Now she up here washing Jesus' feet in the congregation.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So Jesus is dealing with all of this mess while teaching people how to love one another through it, look through faults to get to needs, teaching them how to work together and be a cohesive unit. Hence the John 17 prayer, that they would be all connected to, I'm the vine, you're the branches. He went through this whole thing in chapter 15 about love and so on and so forth. Just teaching people how to deal with themselves and one another in community, not in isolation.
Yeah.
And so we've taken this personal Jesus. We have a genie. It's you rub your Bible,
say a couple verses,
say a couple of words,
stand on the word, stand on the word firm.
And I'm like, 250 years of American Christianity has produced what? What are the outcomes? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, when we think about it and you look at any program that we start as an institution, organization, right? Metrics or data is what you're looking at. Well, nobody holds, the church people do not hold church people accountable for product, for fruit bearing.
Well, I think that there's a large.
Let me say this. I had one quoted to me the other day. The Bible says don't judge. He's a really smart guy too.
Okay.
Right. And he's like, well, it sounds like you're judging. I'm like, bro, the Bible tells you. See, you ain't read it. So the Bible tells you that if you're a member, you should judge one another. We're not talking about condemnation. We're talking about assessment. We're talking about holding on accountability, right? So on and so forth. But because there is none of that, you have a church that looks like a bunch of loose, I'm talking about collective church, a bunch of loosely knit, the only thing that ties them together is the idea that they say that they're a church. Right. There's no sharing of ideas. There's no sharing of sweat equity and intellectual capital, and no common goals or anything. It sickens me, just to tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm a bad Christian. I'm so bad a Christian that I believe every Christian ought to be better than me.
You sound like Paul. The chief of all sin.
Yeah. Be better than me. I'll take all the criticisms. I'll tell you, yes, I'm messed up. Now go be better than me. Because I got this list, these receipts that says that as stupid as I am, as bad, as a poor decision maker, as a poor leader as I am, there's this miraculous stuff that must be happening because I'm not supposed to be able to do it according to the standards of church people. I'm unholy. I'm unholy. They're holy while their community, falls apart, and I'm unholy while I'm trying to hold their community together. That's my rant. But back to the book.
Not back to the book just yet. The evidence is playing out that people are starting to awaken to what you're saying, though, because I read an article yesterday. I think it was the SBC, and now we can look at a number of denominations and see the same thing, just using them as the example because that was the article. But basically, they were saying they've got 12 million on the roll, right? But then they look at attendance, and there's like 2.5 million like weekly attenders. Now you do the math on that, and again, what does that mean? Does that mean that many people ain't coming? No, them people are not a part of a body. They're not a part of a family. They're not a part of an army, right? They're disconnected, even though they were, quote, members, right? They're still on member roll, but where are they? A lot of people don't know where they are. And so I think there's a large population of people that are finally looking out and looking for evidence, okay, we're saying, I mean, just like people are doing in the state of Alabama, like, well, you know, this politician just loves God and family, and this politician loves God and family. And then you look at the results and the statistical data of our state, and it's like the policies that y'all are spending your energy and time on are setting us back.
Yeah.
They're not creating human flourishing. They're not helping the most people. They're not helping the marginalized people.
Why is the Bible Belt the place where you have the worst schools? It's like the more religion you have, the less education
because it's the place where you inherit the most values that go untested.
Yeah.
They don't really animate you. And that would be my question, is people need to figure out what's really underneath the surface animating you, you know, because you think, well, God's glory. It's like, well, if you made those kind of decisions in the midst of you saying God's glory animates you, you're proving that that's really not under the surface.
Here's the thing. When you say inherited values, let's talk about some of the specific things.
Let's do it, yeah.
You know, Christianity in America passes down. Now, you got to remember that the type of Jesus that was brought over from Europe was not an accurate portrayal of Jesus. Maybe you've never thought about that, but the Pilgrims had witch trials. They burned their women at stakes and drowned them if they determined that they were a witch. Now, usually it was probably some guy with poor self-esteem being rejected by a woman, and so now he calls her a witch. I think there were some reports, and I would love to pull some of those up, but one report that I think I read years ago was that the woman was accused of inciting lust in the man supernaturally, and so that's why. I got to pull that up to prove that story. It just sounds so crazy, but these are the types of values. They were okay with slaughtering the natives and Christians.
Right. So let me give you a specific. The inherited value is we're created in God's image and likeness, all human beings.
Yeah.
Go ahead, because what animated them.
Right.
It couldn't have been that. It couldn't have been that.
Couldn't have been that. So they were hypocrites.
Right.
To start with, America wasn't invaded or evangelized by quality, evangelists who wanted to spread Jesus' word. We were colonized. America was colonized by opportunists who had some religious reasoning for the stuff that they did.
Religious justification.
Right. God told them to go kill the natives, and God told them to go and take the land, and God told them to go enslave people, and they would preach it. That these are beasts of burdens. And so now the South particularly had a really strong...
They had the majority of seminaries that produced those beliefs, by the way, about African Americans.
Yes. And the Southern Baptist Conference is not missing from that number. The African Methodist Episcopal Church was started because the Methodist Church kicked black people out. Okay, so we know that legacy of Christianity is not good yet and still.
Right.
Because, in the 1950s, a person could go to 1950. We're talking about 70 years ago. People are still alive. They would go to a lynching on Saturday and church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Now, you telling me about your heritage. See, people say, I just support my heritage. Well, your heritage is apartheid. Your heritage is terrorism.
Yeah. And the heritage of every other nation, by the way. That's the thing, man. It's not like we're singling America out and saying, all these people come here and opportunity. No. This is every country, every nation, human history, man.
And we can read about the Israelites in the Bible who did the same thing. They were nationalistic. God punished them for becoming like the people over and over, sent them into captivity. They still never figured it out.
Well, Jonah was one of the biggest nationalists there was, man. He didn't want to go preach to pagans because he knew God was going to save him. He's like, I don't want to participate in this. Because I'm superior.
Right.
See, that's the thing about that mentality is there has to be inferiority when you possess these feelings of superiority. You have to create inferiority even if it doesn't exist.
And good
you
and
have to make up stories about it and then sell people on this idea of it.
Fear is the motivator behind false religion.
Yeah.
fear of feeling guilty, fear of being rejected. See, all these things, right? Fear of not being the top of the food, not having power, right? So there's no love in that. When I'm talking to you about the truth, and the first thing that comes up in your mind is a defense for a lie. Yeah. Right. I have this associate that, for whatever reason, he thinks that I only criticize Republicans. No, that's just what comes across your feed because you mess it.
Well, I've seen you in real life with real people.
Yes,
you criticize everything. It don't make no sense.
Democrats, local, it don't make no, because I'm not a party person. Yeah. But he he feels the need to put himself in a category of righteousness because he thinks because he's conservative, evangelical, Republican, that means he's righteous. And I'm going, bro, have you read the history and the development? Do you even know what it is that you're saying? And I do want to say that these types of people, types of personalities, are never looking to do anything. They just want to say what they think is wrong. Right. Right. So the same is selective outrage. The same person that will say to me, you criticize the president, right? And I'm like, you criticize Republicans, right? Won't see that I do criticize Democrats. He says, you say that you are not a part of a party, but you only criticize Republicans. Well, his purview is so filled with indoctrination. And this is where blindness comes from. When your mind is so filled with the lies and the messages that you've received, right, you will see things exactly the way you've been told to see things, right? So I said to him, I said, bro, you didn't hear me talking about what's his name, Bill Clinton and the Crime Bill Act that facilitated the mass incarcerations of blacks and Democrats. No, see, I understand that it's the lesser of two evils. I understand that the Democrats, Southern Democrats, were the slavers, and the Republicans were the people who wanted slavery to be done. But I also understand that the Republicans did the Compromise of 1877, which gave those slavers back their land and paid them money on top of that for their losses, right? So, and created opportunity for Jim Crow laws. So no, I'm not prone to leaning toward a label, but I'm saying all this for that people maybe would stop and examine how you come to the conclusions that you come to. Are they legitimate about God, about yourself, about other people, right? Challenge these things for your sake, because I'm going to be all right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. But if you stay in these boxes of lies, and, Satan is the author of lies, and he's the facilitator for confusion. And if you've been lied to, and you know that your faith has been given to you in a way that's confusing, all you got to do is ask, why would your Father God be sitting in heaven, waiting for you to figure out stuff versus doing everything he can to make sure that you understand? And if there's a devil, then it would be the devil that would be making sure that you stayed divided, that you stayed conquered, that you stayed ignorant, that you stayed parroting and full of tradition and things that don't work. And you would have emptiness in your past as far as any fruit of the faith that you have. Anyway. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. And so I think what we're getting back to is hypocrisy. People that, like you said, this is what you're saying, but you're not actually doing anything. Right. And that's what we've been plagued with over and over, is lip service. And the thing about it is hypocrisy is not lying. It's incongruence. It's saying you're about something, but then your life evidencing that's really not what you're about. The problem is, I think, is that people are lazy. I think it takes diligence to study. I think it takes humility, right? It takes the ability to listen, and the ability to kind of look at your own pride and say, I don't know everything, man. I need to be open to test and challenge these views. Is this legit? Is Christianity really about, I need to be baptized and how I need to be baptized, and I need to look at the Lord's table like this, and I need to look at gathered worship like this, and church government should look like this, and oh, well, you've got this, and the gifts of the Spirit have stopped. Well, no, they haven't stopped. And so literally, because
we feign certainty over these smaller issues, right? They're not the most important thing, but we elevate them to a priority. And then literally people don't ever ask the questions. They just get indoctrinated more and more. And they don't really possess the ability, I think, to ask the right questions.
That's exactly right.
It's like if you're already in a system and the system's telling you how to think, well, you're already kind of conditioned. So why would you ask questions on this? You know,
the Matrix.
Yeah. I mean, if you inherited the narrative about America that, you know, pilgrims and promoting the gospel and the expansion and evangelism, right, of God's people, if that's what you were told, then you would never ask questions. Well, why did we lynch people and go to church the next day? Right. Why did we say that, oh man, every human being's fearfully and wonderfully made and they're image bearers of God, and and then, by the way, we need the whole body, the foot and the toe and the arm, and like, well, again, what you inherited was this glorified, sanctified view of America that has never been challenged. And then the thing is now we got government that's saying, oh, by the way, the real education, we're not going to teach that because we don't want to make kids feel bad and guilty.
Yeah.
We don't, so they'll just repeat it. Yeah. They'll repeat it again, right? Because instead of bringing it up and showing, and that's the thing. It's like
how many adults I never knew that. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I hear that a lot. Like, really? I never.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Let me. Where'd you get? Where'd you get your information?
Yeah. And see, your granddaddy was one. Right. See, that's where people, I think, really feel comfortable, because what we're talking about is people today that don't necessarily hold their granddaddy's views. Right. But they still interact with their granddad, and they know their granddad is a monster. Right. And so I would be, if my granddaddy was a serial killer, right, you know, that wouldn't be something that I could be proud of. Yeah. Right. And so, you know, that creates a generational kind of shame, right? Oh, granddad, everybody know granddaddy was a rapist and a murderer and lynched people. Right. You know, he was part of the Ku Klux Klan. And so we don't want nobody to know that about our folks.
Yeah. A lot of shame around that.
Yeah. And that's how many of us got the, you know, whatever security we may have was because of these philosophies. So we don't want to feel the guilt. I'm telling people, you ain't got to be guilty about what somebody else did. What we got to do is fix the ripple effects today. It don't take you to be guilty for somebody else. You don't have to be ashamed. Old boy, that old boy was a human being, right? It's some Africans that I would probably be ashamed of, but I ain't tripping, because what I want to do now is make sure that everybody who can't feed themselves gets an opportunity to. Everybody who can't have good quality housing, can't have good quality education. See, this is what I'm thinking. Right. Jesus was telling people, okay, they've kept you from community, but I'm going to show you how to build it amongst yourselves. And I'm saying, hey, anybody with a heart wants to see people that are broken get the opportunity to not be broken. Yeah. That's at the core of the gospel for me.
Yeah, but we don't really believe in restoration. You want to talk about an animating value and an inherited. The inherited is, you know, the gospel is all about redemption and restoration. But the second somebody sins or does something that you've deemed, they're unholy.
Yeah, they're unholy.
Cut them off. You know, well, it says wipe the dust off your feet. Keep moving.
He needs to be fired. Right? Hold on.
We don't even understand discipleship, man. We don't even understand the longevity of staying with people through this whole sphere. It's like we think discipleship is, okay, get to this point. Yeah. Oh, you fell down.
You go to
good luck with the next church. Hopefully the next guy can disciple you, because, you know, me personally, you're not bearing fruit. Meanwhile, you yourself are not bearing fruit of grace and mercy. And where's the beating of your chest and saying, Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner? Yeah. But again, we've lowered the standard and the bar. It's simple when it's, well, I don't drink, I don't cuss, and I don't smoke. And I've never cheated on my wife. Yeah. And yet you cheat on your taxes. Yeah. And then you say you're a kingdom businessman, but you pocket the majority of the money. Yeah. You're not creating opportunities for other people to grow and flourish. You're not picking people up and bringing them into work. And this is my struggle, G. This is a good little topic we can chop up, because, and this is funny, because somebody who cares about me deeply made this comment. And they said, Jason, I don't know that your pressure washing business is actually going to succeed from the world standards. And let me tell you why. It ain't because you're not smart, man. Mm-hmm. It's because you're kingdom minded. Mm-hmm. And you always try to take care of people, which that means you're going to give a kid another mm-hmm. shot that nobody else will give a shot to, which means he's going to screw up some stuff, right? So, mm-hmm. and then, oh, by the way, you know, you're going to feel bad about this person's situation. You're going to cut them a deal, man. You're going to do more pro bono work than you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that there's that tension in there where it's like, I say I'm a kingdom business owner. That's not simply me making decisions based on good character, putting the majority of money back in my pocket, you know, saying we're a Christian business and we don't lie and we don't cheat. But then you look at their pattern of work and there's not excellence in their work. You know, and again, they're not developing people and caring about mm-hmm. people. It's a person who's literally thinking about his retirement, thinking about what he can ride off into the sunset with. And as soon as you down here don't accomplish my goal, mm-hmm. then you're going. And that's not kingdom business, man.
And this is why I'm so proud of our organization, because just about 90% at least of the population is a rescue. Mm-hmm. You know, we're all rescues. I come out of prison.
I didn't know there was 10% that wasn't.
Yeah. Never mind. I know one. Yeah. You know, straight out of college into, you know, but you know, and I like what we've done. And I think, you know, when somebody says, well, you're not going to be successful from the world's perspective, I don't know. I think we are. Yeah. And I think that it's miraculous because what we've been able to do.
I think it's from a worldly, from a data, from a spiritual, from all perspectives. But go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the success is undeniable. You know, you've seen the news articles, right? But we did it we couldn't do it with the people. They didn't have the skill sets. We didn't have the technology. We didn't have all this, but it happened anyway. And I'm saying that, you know, it's very possible that it's the same thing because you look through the faults. I look through the faults when I hired people to get to the need, be willing to train them up, grow them up into these positions, right? I think that it will succeed. I think that over time, right, what will happen is because you've done it kingdom way, right, you're going to outdo everybody else. Now, I'm not calling myself a prophet on that. I'm just saying that my experience is that, you know, despise not the day of small beginnings, man. Yeah. Zechariah 4:10. We was in a house.
Oh no, you got prophet fruit, man. I ain't gonna call you a prophet, but you got prophet fruit.
We was in a house on Avenue F, right? And then we was it wasn't even a house. It was just we was in an apartment there.
Right.
That's where we started. One employee. Right now we're 10 employees strong, $500,000 in budget and benefits, $500,000 to the community every year. Right. You know, nobody saw this coming, but I was kingdom minded about it. And I believed in the concept. So, hey, man, you know, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, if you need some help, let me know.
Well, here's what irritates me. I think we've made, and I understand why people do it, but within the nonprofit scope, we've kind of said, okay, I'm a church, right? And I'm a nonprofit over here. And you got people that are trained and in the church system that they look at the nonprofit smugly, right? Because they'll say, well, it don't matter. Where do they go to church? Does anybody get saved? Right. Does anybody get saved?
How many confessions are made?
Where do they go to church?
Where do they go to church?
That's always the question.
Who's your pastor?
And it literally, what it reveals is your animating value that you feel like as a disciple of Jesus starts with this idea of you going and being a part of this church. Yeah. Now, let's break that thing down, because when Jesus was here and when they were talking about church, right, well, it literally means people who are called by God, that are called to collect together, right, for a purpose, with commonality and unity. And so we're inviting people into buildings. We're inviting people into systems. But those buildings and those systems have proven not to give people what they need, not only on a spiritual level, which we started the conversation with, but even on an empowerment level, right? Even on a physical and mental health level, right? It's like we've reduced everything to like, well, sin, stop sinning.
Yeah.
And you don't realize
stop sinning, sing some songs, pay your tithe, listen to the seminar.
Right. And then
don't question the pastor.
I mean, I don't really know, like, what does that produce? It produces hypocrisy. That's what it does. And it produces hedonism, right?
Right.
Because people are coming into these buildings with pain.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, there's the doctors in the pulpit who doesn't even have the ability to help diagnose that pain.
Right.
Because he's still talking about, well, confess your sins and, come up to the altar and get baptized.
This is how you get your money blessed. If you tithe, you'll get your money blessed.
Right. Give $69.50 right now, man.
Oh, my God. How many times have you heard Paula White or Jesse Duplantis or, some of these people? Everything is about, why is God sitting there going, I want to bless your money?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, too.
It's like, I'll bless your money.
It's like, how about I give you some financial literacy? How about we cut the Bible study short to talk about the Romans road to salvation for the 816th time?
Okay.
And we actually start giving you wisdom. Because see, that's the thing. It's like, I've learned my job is not to convert anybody. I'm not supposed to give somebody some information and then act like I'm the only one in the world that's got this commodity that I'm giving you, and now you got to receive it. So, you ready to pray? Are you ready to make a decision with your life? Are you ready? Yeah, and by the way, it's all about you. It's all about you and your eternity and your life. And
if you died right now.
No, what I do is you out there, you living like the world. We're gonna talk about how has that held you under pressure? Oh, it hasn't, has it? So let's talk about what does hold you under pressure, and that's in community with God, with his people, growing, developing, and by the way, developing in wisdom and how to build relationships, emotional intelligence, right? Dealing with past trauma, dealing with suffering, right? These are the skills that people really need, but we just want, make a decision, man.
Yeah, mentoring.
Because you could die tonight, man.
Mentoring is really, really important for the development of a Christian. I think of it, I used that doctor analogy earlier, but probably a better analogy where evangelists come along is like absentee fatherhood.
Right. Baby daddies, man.
Baby daddies.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're going around inseminating people's hearts and then leaving them to fend for themselves. Come back. We had church service on Sunday twice a day. It'd be the same service, but it'd be same sermon, but it'd be twice a day. And I stay for both of them. And then I go to Bible study on Wednesday. And then I go to choir practice on Tuesday.
I'm like, man, how do you not look at a church like that and then look at a Ponzi scheme and like a pyramid scheme and not equate like, bro, this looks exactly the same, man.
And I'm on tithes. I'm tithing.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, let me give you this too.
I want God to bless my finance.
Yeah, and we've attributed, I think, church success, like, there's
numbers.
Well, not only numbers, man, but experience. Because that experience that they get, right, creates the numbers. Because now I'm like, man, let me bring you over to this, man. Because you got to experience what's going on here, man.
Opioid of the masses.
It's amazing. Like, come and get this, get this thing, and you're like,
I'm a former drug user, crackhead, and I know that every time I went to use some crack, it was because I wanted to feel good.
That's right.
And I think that it's the same methodology. People go, I hear all the time. I just see church is a place where I go and I find peace.
Well, they're functional hedonists. If all it is getting pleasure out of the church experience, being a black hole and sucking it all in, but never using those resources and giving them out, it's like, bro, you completely missed the point.
That's what you want. Yes, to feel good.
Yeah,
and that's what Jesus is not promising.
Yeah,
not you done misinterpreted comfort. Jesus. Yeah. I'm gonna comfort you while they kill you. I'm gonna let you be all right while they take your stuff, while they cut your head off, boil you in oil, take your children. Yeah. Right. I'm gonna see. We can't imagine living like that as American Christians unless you black.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you were praying to
because you've been marginalized.
Yeah,
you've been oppressed.
And this nobody ever questions this, right? But if we could talk a little bit about how the slave masters gave the slaves their God, their new God, right? Jesus gave them a new God. So now they all praying to Jesus, to praying to God through Jesus, right? But now who did God answer?
Well, and by the way, here's one with training and, college background, and here's the other that might not even be able to read on a second or third grade level. But again, who does God help? Who does God choose? He takes the foolish things of the world. He takes what is low and despised.
Nobody has stopped to ask on all this political stuff and race stuff. Nobody's.
He always answers the marginalized. You can read from cover to cover.
So I had
Songs and Proverbs and see.
I had one brilliant guy say this to me. He says, well, white people gave 600,000 lives for the freedom of slavery, meaning the Civil War.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was not a gift. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about that. That was not a gift.
Right.
Right. There
was ulterior motives for the reason that they were fighting too. It wasn't because they wanted to love and liberate black folks.
But the thing is that the black folks wasn't trying to kill white folks. We had some slave revolts, but we're trying to kill the black people. They weren't trying to kill 600,000. So and white people weren't trying to give 600,000 lives.
Right. That's a byproduct.
So So what are you talking about? And then if you're a Christian and you believe that God answers the prayers, it sounds like that he answered the prayers of the slaves,
right,
and punished the slave master.
Yeah. But
that didn't make any difference.
Well, and by the way, I think we're on our third occasion now where literally, and I hate to use this term because I don't want to lump everybody in here, but sorry, white America has been at a crossroads, and really, especially Christian claiming white America has been at a crossroads, and we were at a crossroads with the time of Reconstruction, and they decided, nope, we're not going to listen to God and be kingdom minded. We're going to again separate, segregate, and keep it moving. Right. Well, civil rights comes, it's the same exact thing, right? It's like how many times
keep doing this, and now here it is again, right, gerrymandering districts,
what's interesting is what Romans says, and what's happening in our country. It coincides. It coincides with the whole Sodom and Gomorrah thing, right? Which you and I have discussed prior, which is when a nation gets fat and fed and doesn't care for the most marginalized in their society, guess what happens? Then judgment starts coming to them. And how does judgment come? In the form of all of these divergence and this craziness and pedophiles and all of this crazy killing, sexual deviation that's not biological, right? And so that's what we're seeing. It's like you suppress the truth and unrighteousness. Here's another chance for the church to respond to the plight of black folks, of black and brown people, and the oppression and the treatment. And nope, we're going to double down. Well, we're going to double down. And so what we see is just we're incurring judgment. I might get in trouble for this, but to me, guess who the deliverer of the judgment is? He's in office right now. Yeah. So literally, people are praising the one who I think is enacting the justice.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's going to be enough for us, and right now we're still early, so we ain't a lot to sacrifice, but hey. Hopefully, we'll get your reactions, your discussion on that. Follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram and YouTube. Yeah. Right. And I'm starting to feel this thing, man. I'm starting to feel this thing. I'm hoping that people get some feedback.
This episode number 16. Can you believe we've been around for 16 episodes? Right. Ain't get canceled or nothing. That's what happens when we own the show. We don't have to
can't get canceled. They could ban us off the platform, but I don't think we're that bad. They got the Hodge twins. They have Joe Rogan, right?
True.
Like, hey, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that these are horrible people, but my point is that, hey, man, it's all good out here on the internet. So we're giving some good stuff.
There you go.
Hey, listen, this has been Barbecuing Sacred Cows.
I'm Jason Williams.
And Gerrel Jones. This is the podcast where you get to question everything you've ever learned. You don't say it with me? Everything.
Yeah, we good. I like how you do it, man. You got that DJ voice, but